Erik Ten Hag told what to do with Bruno Fernandes after Roy Keane demand. As 4 players betray Ten Hag, Jamie Redknapp has broken with his fellow pundits and urged Erik Ten Hag to build his Manchester United team around Bruno Fernandes. Ten Hag named Fernandes as captain at the start of the season, but it has been a miserable campaign for the Red Devils. Fernandes has frequently come in for criticism for his attitude, with the midfielder having a habit of making his frustration on the pitch clear. But he has also come up big for his team, scoring both goals as United rescued a draw against Bournemouth on Saturday. His performance against the Cherries has now led to Redknapp singling out the Portuguese international as United's key player. He gets a lot of stick, Bruno, a lot of stick. Some of it I get. I also think it is unfair. When I watch him play, I see a player that genuinely cares. There's a frustration, and yes, sometimes there is pettiness. Sometimes he's calling out his players, Redknapp told Sky Sports. But if I was coming into the club, or if it's the manager Erik Ten Hag, if he keeps his job, he's the sort of player you're looking to build the team around. He's the player. He makes things happen. But what the frustration comes from is that I don't think people care as much as he does. I see that as an epidemic at the club where people don't really do enough. Do they really care? Do they go flying into tackles? He, on the other hand, does, and I think he sometimes gets himself into situations that he probably shouldn't. But I tell you what he cares about: his club, his team. He's pulled his team back into that game today. I just see a player that you could build the team around, and I don't see many other players that shares the same appetite that he does. Yeah, I get the culture. I think if you've got the right players around him, I get his frustration. It must drive him insane. Redknapp's comments stand in stark contrast to United legend Roy Keane, who demanded that Ten Hag strip Fernandes of the captaincy earlier this season. Keane was left furious after the defeat to Manchester City in October and urged a bold move to be made. Today, having watched him again, I would take the captaincy off him 100%. I know it's a big decision. Obviously, they changed the captaincy with Maguire, but Fernandes is not captain material, he told Sky Sports. He is a talented player, no doubt about it. But what I saw today, we've discussed many times before. It was last season at Liverpool. His whinging, his moaning, and throwing his arms up in the air constantly. It really isn't acceptable. From what we saw today, I'm thinking I would take that off him. You have to start somewhere. We were talking about where do you start the manager, board level. I would start with that because the manager is capable of doing that. Fernandes is a brilliant footballer, but in terms of captain material, he is the opposite to what I would want in a captain. In other news, Erik Ten Hag was let down by 4 Man United players versus Bournemouth before post-match drama. Manchester United's dismal 2-2 draw against AFC Bournemouth on Saturday evening was the latest blow in Erik Ten Hag's hopes of sneaking a Champions League spot this season. Sack talk will naturally intensify after another underwhelming performance, in which United were fortunate to avoid defeat at the Vitality Stadium. Some of Ten Hag's players were visibly poor, while others didn't do enough to positively impact what was a must-win fixture on the South Coast. The Dutchman walked out of his post-match press conference as pressure seemingly reached boiling point, but he isn't solely at fault. Express Sport pinpoints 4 players who let the Dutchman down against Bournemouth. Andre Onana has been one of United's better players since the turn of 2024, although the bar has remained low. The Red Devils goalkeeper has been made to work for his salary, with only Luton Town facing more shots in the Premier League this season. But while Ten Hag's outfield players were at fault for allowing time and space, Onana should have done better for both of Bournemouth's goals this weekend. Dominic Solank's low strike wasn't in the corner, but it still flew past him. The 28-year-old was then beaten at his near post for Justin Kluivert's strike. Diogo Dalot has been one of Ten Hag's most trusted players this season, cementing his status as United's first choice right back ahead of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But he had an afternoon to forget on Saturday and didn't offer Willy Kambwala the required support in his 3rd senior start. For the second Bournemouth goal especially, Dalot was positioned too far apart from Kambwala, allowing Justin Kluivert the space and time to strike. He only won 5 of his 13 ground duels and committed 4 fouls. Marcus Rashford can't complain about his critics after his display against Bournemouth. He struggled to produce anything of substance in a collectively toothless attacking outing. Rashford completed just 79% of his passes, lost possession of the ball 17 times, and came out on top in just 1 of his 9 duels. Bruno Fernandes was the only attacking threat, and the United number 10 needs to do more as a headline star alongside the Portuguese captain. Rasmus Højlund Rasmus Højlund was on top of the world before suffering an injury against Luton in February, becoming the youngest ever Premier League player to score in 6 consecutive games with his first half brace. However, the 21-year-old has been unable to get going since his return against Liverpool on March 17, failing to score in his last 7 matches for club and country. Højlund has been the victim of poor service throughout his first season at Old Trafford, but he did little to worry the Bournemouth defense off the ball on Saturday. He has only recorded 1 shot on target in his 5 United appearances since returning to action, which makes dismal reading from an individual and team standpoint. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to subscribe to Man United Hub to get all the latest updates.